4, 3.
Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and usually with me from the ether today is Oh My Feelings. Good evening to you, sir.
I'm a ghost.
And of course, with us today, special guest appearance by Mr. Culture Casino on the Reel McCoy podcast. What is the Reel McCoy podcast? You might ask. Well, it's very easy. We ask you and go watch a movie. You watch it, come back to us, and we break it down and spin it all around and just completely nerd out on it. And for that, we asked you to go and watch Hudson Hawk. And many people were like, what the fuck is that movie? So yeah, we wanted you to watch Hudson Hawk from 1991. A very special movie. And to be absolutely fair, a movie that is very close and dear to my heart. That's why we have Culture Casino here. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great. I'm glad you had me back. I think I've now made it on 3 or 4 of these. I'm stoked. I love it when we get to cover my favorite films. We still haven't done Showgirls yet, but
we'll save that for a rainy day.
Fine, it's raining right now. No, but honestly, the Hudson Hawk's one of my favorite films. I know a lot of people are like, what is this? What? I never heard of this. Got Bruce Willis in it. But it's fantastic. So, but I'm just glad to be here. Thanks for having me once again.
Awesome. Always welcome. Right. Before we actually dive right in, please, if you want to interact with me, you want to interact with the show, go on Twitter or Xer or Twix or whatever you want to call it, X. Twix. At Meffistoe. It's still there. Same goes with Instagram, at Meffistoe79. And you can always email the show at theremccoypodcast@gmail.com for all the comments, all the stuff. And of course, for Culture Casino, who had just passed 10K, congratulations, sir. We've said it enough times. Please, let's get him to 100K, right? Let's get him to 100K because it's worth it. And same goes for Rumble because Rumble is worth it, right? All the and of course, Odyssey and your Twitter is linked in the description down below for all your linky stuff. If you want alternative
tech. That's right.
Alternative platforms, alternative text, just in case YouTube says, well, you're gone, because that actually happens. All right, Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, love you very much, but it is time to go into business. And we start with Behind the Screens.
Action take 2.
Behind the Screens is where we turn to Oh My Feelings in his disemboweled voice today, and we get the lowdown on everything behind the scenes. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before we started, there's not much information on this movie, so a lot of this is going to be stuff that they fucked up.
Oh, that's great.
There's more to mention during our review, but start off with $66 million budget, $97 million gross. Nah.
I think your numbers are wrong.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I double checked that. It said it was still right.
Official budget was $65 million. It turned out to be around $72 million final budget and a $17 million gross.
Oh, really?
The 90-something gross was DVDs, VHSs, Laserdiscs, all that.
Gotcha. So a bigger bomb than I thought it was. See, I was actually going to give this film a good point. But see, you just shit all over that one. Way to go, man.
It's not me.
So notice that this is Bruce Willis's only story writing credit in his entire career.
Yeah,
and you wonder why.
Yeah.
The cast and crew were often very perturbed during production because Bruce Willis would often just change the script while on set as they were about to shoot. He would just, I decided I wanted to go ahead and have them say a different line. In fact, one of the lines later where it says, was it slurp my butt? Okay. He actually wrote that down. His insult to the Mario Brothers. Someone wrote that down.
Yes. Okay.
This is actually the second film in which Bruce Willis refers to and brings up reindeer goat cheese pizza.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Because
that was the last Boy Scout.
Yeah, the last Boy Scout, yeah.
Which,
again, great film. Everybody forgot.
Yep. The line, directions even your brother can understand, was actually written on the day they were shooting because he had a tiff with Sylvester Stallone. And he wanted it as a backhanded jab because he was talking to Frank Stallone.
Yeah.
Now, for some things that they kind of got wrong, given a bar of lead and a bar of gold, if you were to hold them both, you can noticeably tell the difference in weight. Gold is much denser. You'd be able to know that this is gold and this is lead.
Yes.
The mention of swinging on a star during the first heist, what's interesting is that swinging on a star was over 5.5 minutes long. The scene's only 2.5 minutes long.
Okay.
There's a big discrepancy between there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. I think it happens with every single song that they do.
Almost. Speaking of which, during the quizzing, Tommy asks when Whitney Houston sang the national anthem at the Super Bowl. He says Super Bowl 17.
Oh, it's wrong.
No, it was Super Bowl 25.
Really?
And he obviously makes a joke by saying it's 7 minutes and 17 seconds, trying to mock about how long it was.
Yes.
But actually, it was only 116 seconds. So,
for
someone who is all about time on songs, it's like
Culture might remember. When was the Super Bowl with Roseanne singing the anthem, or am I wrong? Was it like an NHL?
It was an MLB game.
Was it an MLB game? Okay.
And actually, what's funny is who sang at Super Bowl 17?
Who?
One of the guys from Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay. Really?
Yeah. And he's also in Police Academy. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Da Vinci's model of Sforza, the horse statue,
yes,
the clay model, that was actually destroyed by the French in 1499. It doesn't exist.
Okay.
It didn't exist past 1499. So even when they did the fake copy, the real copy wasn't real either.
Well, I thought they said one of two copies.
Yes, they said so in the movie, but it doesn't exist.
Okay.
They had it off. I think they had it off a drawing.
Oh,
From there was a Milan museum for Da Vinci, and they took stuff off it. Like they borrowed stuff off it for the shoot, but and the sports that came off one of the sort of designs.
Yep. And also, what's funny is the actual real statue the French used for target practice during the war.
Yeah.
So one other big one before we get into the movie, when Hudson is pulled across the Brooklyn Bridge, right?
Yeah.
Where he's stopped and where they show him in the next scene is 3 miles apart.
Well,
geographically, he must have been flying on that goddamn gurney.
Yeah. But technically, there's another issue with that bridge. So they closed the bridge for 5 days of shooting from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning, just on the one side. But there is no toll booth on the Brooklyn Bridge. The toll booth was actually on the Brooklyn Battery Bridge, which is on the next one over, I think.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. The rest we can discuss while you want.
Okay, so I've got more because I've been a good boy. So the script was originally written by Stephen De Souza, who was the writer on Die Hard. So Joel Silver brought him over, Bruce Willis brought him over, and his script was rejected. However, he stayed, so he got a screenplay a credit for it though. When the director, Michael Lehmann, came in, he worked on The Heathers. That's why he was brought in, because he did like this dark comedy. So The Heathers was his thing. They brought him on, and he brought his script writer, which is Dan Waters, who did The Heathers. And his script was approved. However, in total, there were 120 different versions of the script, and it was completely finalized 3 weeks before the ending of the shoot.
Yeah.
The ending of the shoot, so the entire shoot was supposed to be 81 days, ended up to be extended to 106 days. It was so long, Richard E. Grant was offered to play the Sheriff of Nottingham for the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, the one with Kevin Costner. Was offered it. It's like the shoot was ending, but Michael Lehmann wouldn't let him go because he thought he would have to reshoot. So he was adamant he was not be released. So the part went to Alan Rickman. In terms of casting, the only thing that I could get on casting is the role of Anna Baragli was supposed to be Isabella Rossellini.
Now, I think that would have worked way better.
I know. Now, she was cast, but she had to drop because they should have started in one date, but they kind of postponed when they started the shoot. So she dropped off for doing another project. They brought in this French actress called Mariska Demeter. She was there for the first day or a few days, depending on which source of information you're looking at. It's very scarce. But she left because she already had these back problems. They were just becoming more severe as they started the first day or the first couple of days, and she had to drop out. And they brought in Andie MacDowell. However, Bruce Willis originally, before Rossellini, before everybody else, actually wanted Famke Janssen because he saw her in a shampoo commercial or soap commercial, and he wanted her in. She went into the casting call, and the casting director was like, no, no. And the only thing I've got extra for this is Minerva Mayflower was not in the original script. What happened is once Michael Lehmann took over, he wanted the villain to be, it was supposed to be a dude. He wanted to be a girl to make it sort of a change. And they were talking to Audrey Hepburn. The negotiations fell through, but Michael Lehmann wanted to keep it as a girl, and Bruce Willis suggested, well, why don't we just make it a couple? Keep the original guy, but make it a couple to have both Minerva and the other dude. I just forgot.
Darwin.
Darwin. That's about it.
Bunny, Ball.
Bunny. Oh, they had serious issues with that dog. That dog could not fetch a ball. Like serious issues with that dog. That's why the bunny ball with the tennis cannon came in, because Bruce Willis seriously wanted to kill that dog. Like seriously wanted to kill that dog. And that's about it. Right? Let's just start with the good stuff. Let me just share my screen. And here we go. Right. So one of the problems with this movie was because generally started just because the marketing for this movie was a big issue.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce Willis was a mega action hero. So the studios were like, "Oh, let's just advertise this or push this as a action movie." And when the people came in to watch this movie, they saw a comedy which is also a heist movie, but also it was sort of a musical because Danny Aiello and Bruce Willis actually sang the songs because they knew each other from way before, and Danny Aiello got the job because he was such a great lounge singer. And it starts off with this.
Was this before Bruce Willis decided to buy that town?
I think so. This was like 90. They started the shoot like July of 1990.
Yeah.
And it just when Die Hard 2 dropped, and it was a financial hit. It was a big hit. Maybe not a critical hit, but how it is with sequels. But it starts off with setting everything up with the whole machine. Now, do you have any notes on that machine? Because I do. It's really funny. It's really funny. So they built this entire machine. That entire lab is where that machine actually ends up. The gold machine at the end. That machine could not have been built in Hungary because they didn't have the materials to build the thing. Remember, the wall just fell about a year plus before they started to shoot in Hungary. So raw materials were lackluster. So they built this thing in England where they had a few of the shoots done, and they shipped it in like 20 containers or something to Hungary. And then it took about 4 months to build while they were shooting. They started before, but while they were shooting in Italy, they were constructing this whole thing in Hungary. And then they shot this without Bruce Willis or the other cast, and then they added in all that stuff. But when people came to see this movie and were like, what is this thing? Why is this? Why are we talking about Da Vinci? And immediately there were like problems with the test audience. So it starts off with setting everything up with that machine, turning into gold, explaining us why it is. By the way, the narrator is a guy called William Conrad, and most people know him as Fat Man from Jake and the Fat Man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this was his last movie. He continued doing Jake and the Fat Man, but he died in 1994 4 or 5, I think. But this was his sort of last movie.
Mm.
So we have the full. What's funny to me is the comedy is the one with it stood out.
Oh,
is
the
the
bit of
one
it
with
with
the Mona Lisa.
Yeah. And note that that's not the only bad tooth joke
No,
that
it's
occurs in
not.
this film.
It's not. I can't. I hate VLC sometimes. But yeah, the fact that it starts off with this sort of period piece, set everything in such an off motion. It was crazy. And then of course we've got Bruno. Now, why am I saying Bruno? Because back in the day when Bruce Willis was a struggling actor, he did an album. He sort of performed a character called Bruno who is singing. And elements of Bruno, how he dressed, how he walked, is generally speaking Hudson Hawk. But Hudson Hawk isn't really just Bruno. He's also an amalgamation of David Addison from Moonlighting. That's the whole character. And yeah, he just ran with it. Culture?
Which, I'm sorry, I missed that last part. Say that again. I'm so
You're
sorry.
reading chat. You're reading chat, aren't you?
Yes, I was reading the chat.
Stop reading chat.
I know, but I like the chat. Okay.
I know. I like him too. I read him too, but it's hard.
Okay.
Anyway,
okay. Yeah.
chat is king. I can see it. I see it.
I'm right there. I got
All
you.
right. So Tommy Five Tone comes in, gets takes out like the two running jokes in this thing is the Nintendo jokes.
Oh, I love the Nintendo.
Start of the movie.
Yes.
And the coffee joke.
The coffee,
Yeah.
Yeah.
His own masculine coffees.
Yeah. The fact that he
Yeah.
like Tommy Five Tones gets him his coffee, but he's the one that like he drives recklessly for no good reason, and then he spills his coffee. It's like, dude.
Well, no, he's surprised because his parole officer had brought up the potential new heist, and that's why he stopped short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was every bit of that. I mean, like in the scene leaving the jail was still so great. I mean, immediately setting up, the premise for the entire film. I mean, it was well crafted. But I like the fact that he lifted his keys and threw them in the mop bucket, as he was leaving the jail. So it was fantastic.
Yeah. And it sets us up to know how long Hudson Hawk was in jail. He literally says, well, I've been in jail since like I don't know what Nintendo is.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because
bone some chicks.
Exactly. And I was like, and it turns back around because when he's in Tommy's bar, he's like, oh, it's the Mario Brothers, the third biggest crime family in New Jersey. I was like, really? You're going there? It's like, yeah. They went there. But again, the coffee gags do not stop. So
no,
Hudson Hawk goes into the bar, and it turned into like this from this dive into like this yuppie bar.
Okay, can we just admit that even a silenced pistol would have had everybody running out of there, and somebody would have gotten hit by that stray bullet?
Probably the bartender, I guess. The whole coffee joke is continuing, and you can tell beforehand Tommy is kind of pushing Hudson to do kind of wanted to do that heist, and Hawk doesn't really want to do it. And that's throughout the movie. It's sort of like Hudson Hawk is being dragged by the nose to do things he wouldn't necessarily want to do because of these sort of outside forces pushing him, pulling him and pushing him to do these things. and he's sort of a reluctant anti-hero of sorts. And to be fair, when I watched this for the very first time, Hudson Hawk is a very likable character. Sort of like, I like this guy. I don't want him. It's like this poor man just stepped out of jail. All he wants to do is bang chicks, drink his coffee, and play freaking Nintendo, right? It's like, what's wrong with that? And all he gets is these kind of like these gangsters want him to do this, and these former CIA people want him to do this, and he's getting pulled and chugged, and all he's got is his natural charm and sort of charisma, kind of solving his problems for him. Any objections?
Yeah,
or I continue?
No, I again, I mean, all of that stuff is great. Oakley Vandal in the chat's like losing their mind. Yes, it's cappuccino, but Danny Aiello's character, Tommy, continues to call it coffee on purpose. It's intentional.
Yeah, I know. The whole point is the fact that Tommy is doing this whole bar thing just because he knows where the money is, rather than just placating to what he wants to do, right? So they're talking about where's the captain's wheel, what'd you do with the captain's wheel, where's the bartender guy. That's all gone away like the dodo because we're here to make money. Coffee and espresso don't have foam. We know it's cappuccino. No.
What's odd too is what's interesting is that Hudson Hawk. I'm not going to call him Eddie. He's Hudson Hawk.
Whoa.
I think we lost Coulter too now. Oh,
no, he's here.
Okay. What you do? Anyway,
I didn't do nothing.
No, that was weird.
Yeah. We're having a lot of issues with Restream today.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's interesting is the fact that he mentions the fact that he should be looking for a job. It's like, well, actually, since you're part owner of that bar, you don't need to look for a job because you can employ yourself.
Yeah, that's right. But the thing is, they're at his like back room, and Tommy is like, we need to do this thing because we don't want that your parole officer to basically fuck you over again.
Yeah, and set him up.
Yeah. And we have to do that. It's just a little thing. It's just, just get in, get out, easy. And the fact that it's like Eddie is it's not Eddie. Hudson is like, oh, you've got a plan? What's your plan? It's like, don't worry about it. I've got a plan. And he's like, why are we doing up in this roof with this pool and this, this like wheel and stuff? It's like, don't worry about it. And to me, it's sort of like either Tommy is being really foolish or there's something more sinister. And the first time I watched it, I was like, well, Tommy's just a fuckhead. It's like he's gonna get Hudson back in jail, right? He's gonna get him back in jail because of this foolishness, where that could have been avoided. However, you just go along with it because it just keeps being so ridiculous in terms of heist. It's just fun.
Well, to be fair, I know that it's supposed to be lighthearted and fun, but to be fair, Hudson's not doing himself any favors, neither is Tommy. He's getting out of prison, about to pull a heist. He's a renowned cat burglar, right? Why is he not wearing any gloves?
Oh.
They have your fingerprints on file. You've been in prison.
Yeah, and not only does he not have gloves while literally on the floor, which you wouldn't expect to get like fingerprints off of floor, but he had no gloves when he was like dealing with the safe.
Well, with
so
the
he
safe,
was setting himself
he had his
up.
fingerprints on the glass when he cut the hole.
Yeah.
There's just a trail.
But the one thing I did want to get in this thing is the fact that sort of the model for this entire movie is sort of like 40s, 50s heist movies. Names like Bing Crosby and Bob Hope came up while preparing for to prepare to do the movie in terms of the ideas that Bruce Willis came up with. And they wanted Hudson and Tommy to be sort of like this kind of weird amalgamation of that sort of traveling heist kind of movie. And that's why they put the songs in, sort of reminding you of the old-timey song guys. But they did it. I think that was to me, that was an idea that is not in any other movies. The fact that we're so good in timing the heist, we're using songs to coordinate ourselves while we're doing separate jobs, because we know this job is going to take X amount of minutes. We know this song. We start doing the song, so we don't need to synchronize any watches or synchronize swatches like Parker Lewis. Okay, nobody got that reference? Fine. Parker Lewis can't lose.
Yes.
You're muted, Coach.
I don't know what that is, but I do know. Would you like to swing on a star, carry moonbeams home in a jar, or be better off than you are? Or would you rather be a fish?
Exactly. And to me, I hate musicals. I really hate musicals I can stand Grease, but I really don't like musicals. And
But Mephisto, Grease is the word.
Whatever. Anyway, I was gonna say, just another short guy did mention it. It's the old road movies, right? It's those kind of movies where you got this sing along. Elvis had one of those movies where you suddenly just burst into like an Elvis song while
Elvis had a lot of those movies.
I know, but it's sort of that kind of a movie where there's a story, there's an sort of not actiony, it's 50s, right? So it's not super actiony, but there's a story, but suddenly you're just singing a song that kind of fits with the theme of what you're doing. But in this, they kind of weaved it through the story, those songs. It kind of fit. I know a lot of people criticize the fact that there are songs there, but it kind of fit. By the way, the two guards, one of them is named Bing, and the other one is named Hope.
Yep.
In the script. So that's the homage. That's that whole deal. So
that is so cool. That's a detail I never noticed before. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I wouldn't know it. When you run through the credits, it's one of them. It's one. If it's not Bing, it's first name, right? It's Bob and it's Bob and Bing, I think. It's sort of like Ig and Ook, where their only lines were Ig and Ook when they die.
Yep,
that's their only lines in the movie,
and it was great. God, that was so good, and Caruso did such a great job playing both of them. It was so good.
It's not Caruso.
No, that wasn't
Caruso.
Caruso's Kit Kat.
It's Kit Kat.
Oh, it's Kit Kat. Excuse me.
Ig and Ook were the agents that were supposed to be stealthy.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah,
and they were not.
Caruso's the redheaded weird dude. That man, it was so good. Okay, all right, fair.
Now, I will have to say though, just as a quick aside, I know we're going to talk about it later. I think Kit Kat was probably one of. Again, I didn't much care for this film. I'll be openly honest.
I know,
and it's pretty clear. But I thought the entire bit with Kit Kat was probably one of my redeeming that I had for this movie. I'm just Caruso absolutely killed it.
Yeah, I know. Because first of all, David Caruso doing a part where he's not talking is absolutely excellent. Because if you've ever seen CSI Miami, you really want him to shut the fuck up because he is not a great actor. However, as a mime, he is great. I mean, they gave him like these weird timing parts where he sort of like he sort of let's say progressed the story. So just like CSI Miami, he is the buttoner on those scenes. He just gives that button. Okay.
Yeah, no, and I love his character the most. I think that sometimes the best acting is done in silence. And I think the best example of that is Denzel Washington in the most recent film, Equalizer 3, where he didn't have to say anything and conveyed a lot of stuff. But the fact that he was a master of disguise was very entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I don't need the one-liner and then the, Who clip that we get in all the CSI Miamis.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just a small little thing just before we go. Oh, where? Not go. We've got our first game of the day. Hold on.
A game. Oh, I love these.
We're playing a game. Don't you remember?
I do.
You're really out of it today, Culture. Right.
Oh, it's fun.
We've got a game for you. It is called Missing Marquee. It really is a game for you and the audience. What is Missing Marquee, you might ask? The Missing Marquee is where we take 10 posters of movies, have their text written off. We display them in Culture Casino. And of course, our lovely little chat here will guess which movie this is. Culture, you have the first go, plus you've got like a 20-second delay, so you're good. These shouldn't be too complicated. Here we go.
Birdman.
That is correct.
Oh my gosh, I just watched this. Clockwork Orange.
A Clockwork Orange.
Animal House. Come on.
Animal House is correct.
I want to say Bird on a Wire.
It is Bird on a Wire.
Okay. All right. Oh no, this is not. Is this the original? Is this Bloodsport?
It is Bloodsport.
Okay.
Correct.
No. Oh, come on, Lithgow, come on.
It contains something from cryptozoology.
My brain's melted. This one I'm out on.
Chat, this is all you guys.
Oh wait, Harry and the Hendersons.
Harry and the Hendersons is correct.
Okay. Oh man, I want to say Inner Space, but I don't think. No. I want to say Inner Space, but I think
Inner Space is correct.
Oh, okay. Oh shit. This is Elliot Page in it.
Elliot Page.
I know this film. Hang on. Juno.
Juno is correct.
Oh man.
This is a great movie.
Fantastic.
It's not Billy Bathgate.
It's not Billy Bathgate.
Nope.
No.
Hollywood.
It's gonna
it's
Chat will catch up in a bit.
LA something.
LA something is correct.
LA Story.
Not LA Story. That's a later film.
Confidential. Thank you.
Confidential is correct.
We'll
give a bit of credit to Oakley.
Yeah. Stewart.
Is James Stewart.
Come on.
My favorite Hitchcock film.
Yeah, you know that. No, I know this. I give up.
No, don't give up. Chat. Please help Culture Casino.
Does it have a plane in it?
It does not have a plane in it. No,
there it is.
Oakley is correct. This is Vertigo.
You beat it to me. So there's two of them I struggled on. That's fine.
It's fine. You did really good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a day, so yeah.
Yeah, I can tell from the private chat. I can tell.
I was going for 10 of 10 and to compete with Tom. Yeah. Tom and I are always. If nobody's noticed this, Tom and I we are always in competition. So when he knocks him out every time, he's like,
I'm well aware of that.
Don't worry about it. He still hasn't beaten my time yet.
For his next appearance, I have prepared something special.
Yeah,
not special, but special.
Yeah, and the minute you said cryptozoology, I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. It's Harry and the Hendersons. So yeah.
So where was I? I hate VLC. So
why? It's great.
In the meantime, first of all, we get introduced after the heist. Of course, we get.
Well, I was going to say just at the end of the heist too. You know, they're both dead, right?
Oh yeah, they fell 10 stories and
into an awning that visibly broke.
Yes. Yeah, they should have died like there and then. But the whole point of this movie is it's so goofy. The whole movie is so goofy. Even the part where Hudson is thrown out of the ambulance.
Yeah.
How much momentum does that gurney have to go through the entire bridge and be faster than the ambulance with the motor?
Well, I mean, obviously, you have to suspend disbelief beginning to end in the film, which is the ask. The big ask for this film is that, right? And it doesn't ask you for a lot more. Just understand that our heroes are, they're you cannot foil them.
Yeah, it's sort of like mixing sort of the supernatural a little bit, because even in this scene where you get introduced to, first of all, you get introduced to Anna Baragli. And
Anna Baragli came to play. Okay, sorry.
Exactly. No, you're good.
That's later. It's way later in the film, but that's still a great line.
The whole point is literally to, first of all, introduce Anna Baragli, tell us a little bit of what she's doing there. She came to appraise to tell us that the Sporza is real, where Hudson is like, if you're such an expert, that's not real, but put that aside. But we also get introduced to Darwin and Minerva, where they are not only billionaires, but they're sort of larger than life characters. Mm-hmm. They have this grand entrance coming in, both of them. And they were both selected, both Richard E. Grant. I didn't have too many sort of notes on how and why he was cast. All I know is he wrote a book, and in the book, sort of a memoirs from 1987 to 1993, and he has a full-on chapter saying how bad was it to work on this film, and how everything was such a big chaos, and how much Bruce Willis and the director fought every single day, and how they got notes on scripts that they were like, oh, what? This story doesn't make sense. And the fact that, again, I mentioned that he wanted to do a Robin Hood, but he couldn't. And the one thing that kind of connected him to this movie is actually Sandra Bernhard, where they were casted together. Immediately, they struck up a friendship, which kind of helps the movie because they're such a kind of oddball couple. Mm-hmm. And it sort of helps that their relationship off screen was really good. So they're not romantically together, but they felt comfortable with each other. And they were also in a position where they knew immediately that they're in a shit show. So that kind of extra bonded them together to sort of laugh at the production team and the crew, basically. So we got this larger-than-life characters coming into this movie, and immediately you get explosions and Hudson Hawk saving Anna. It was like...
Was it just me, or did they actually just show the auctioneer's head exploding?
Yes. Which, again...
That okay, actually, I have to say it.
Say it.
Having the model there really blew his mind.
Thank you.
I'm back.
Hold. I got to give you that. The whole point in this is to Anna kisses Hudson on the cheek and says, well, thanks, tough guy. And immediately he gets one of his many getting knocked out and being dragged somewhere else.
Yes.
Kind of points where he wakes up on a gurney in an ambulance.
But it's so on the nose because it's like the conversation. I mean, this auction's all about horse things, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, it's done in French or whatever. But anyway, it's literally a horse that knocks him out. I'm like laughing my butt off. I don't remember if it was a Pegasus or not, but it literally swung from the ceiling and smashed.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was, but I don't think the horn knocked him out. I think it was his mouth or something, and he gets knocked out. Again, this is the first of many, and I guess this is how they solved the point of reference of how do you move Hudson from one set piece to another set piece. Oh, not a problem. We'll just knock you out. Or we'll just drug you, or we'll just shoot a dart at you to make you sleepy.
Paralyze you, yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, and it's like, okay. And again, we got this chase scene that to me starts off so weird because he takes a box of needles and he throws it on one of the Mario Brothers
face, yeah.
And he still has them
in his face.
Face after the chase was already inbound, and they have that little they look at each other and one guy screams and then the other guy screams just because the one guy screamed. It totally off kilter, and it's got one of my favorite moments where one of the ladies kind of flicks over her cigarettes. It goes to Hudson, and he takes a puff. It's like, ooh, menthol.
Menthol.
He throws it away.
Well, that one little kid goes, "Hey, mister, are you going to die?"
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he says, 1-800, I'm going to die? Like,
yeah.
I'm going to freaking die, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
That's like, all
and
right,
when the bus kind of when the ambulance kind of turns over and explodes,
Anthony,
he goes,
Mario,
are you okay?
Yeah, are you okay? And to me, it's so weird because if you look at I had to look at the trailer, and the trailer kind of sets things up to be more of an action-y movie. So they took all the explosions, a la Michael Bay. I'll give you this mega exploding trailer to entice you to watch this movie. And the explosions, are there, but in the middle, there's no extra action. Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And of course, now you meet.
What interesting too is a gag with the Foley artist when the Mario Brothers are shooting at Hudson.
Yeah.
One of the bullets hits an IV bag. Glass shattering.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Is that supposed to be a reference to something?
No, just the Foley artist messed up.
Oh, okay.
In editing. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, IV bottles had been made in glass before.
Oh no, but
Yes.
it was clearly a plastic
It was
bag.
plastic,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think they grabbed the wrong Foley clip. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once he stops, because, like I said, the gurney had the momentum of the gods, I guess.
Yes.
He meets George Kaplan. Now, there's a story with that George Kaplan stuff. That's the name of the agent in South by Southwest.
Mm-hmm. You mean North by Northwest?
North by Northeast. Sorry, South by Southwest.
South by Southwest. That's
it's the
Austin.
festival.
Festival.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Austin, Texas.
North by Northwest.
North by Northwest.
Yeah.
See, and that's where I went, but I shouldn't have. The Hitchcock movies I get all screwed up on, so that's my own fault.
Yeah, that's fine. Another thing is Do you remember the tones that they put, the shackles that they put on
Yeah.
on Hudson has a certain combination of tones. Those are actually the same combination of tones in other two movies
Yep.
that were starring James Coburn. You had that in your notes, feelings?
Yeah, I was gonna wait until we got to that point where he actually
Sorry,
has
I jumped the
No, it's
gun.
fine. It's no big deal.
But the fact that I love that the agents are called after on candy bars. You know what? Why that's funny? Because I didn't know any of those candy bars
Oh
because
yeah,
I wasn't born
with
in
you
the United
being
States.
Oh,
Israel,
yeah.
The only
That
one
would
I
be
knew
weird.
was Kit Kat.
Ah.
So to me, there was it's like Butterfingers just sounded funny. 'Cause
Well,
the
and
guy
it makes sense to his character, and also with Snickers, because he does kind of smirk, and he gives it sarcastic kind of like, yeah. So that makes sense. The only one that wouldn't make sense that way is Almond Joy.
yeah, I guess. I mean, she's not almond skinned,
Yeah.
but whatever. I did find her to be fair, from that entire group, I've found her the most menacing. I
Well,
don't know.
that's because she was supposed to be. Yeah.
Because she was, to me, from everyone on that crew, maybe not George Kaplan, but from that crew, the most kind of spy-ish feeling I got from her rather than anybody else. I want to push us a little bit forward in
Okay.
time. So when they kind of knock Hudson Hawk back, they pack him in, ship him up to Rome. He wakes up. And of course, he has to deal with Darwin and Minerva. And I like it. The car is really cool because he was getting faxes in the car, and then he just shredded them away, and it just flew out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid watching this, I think I was 11 or 12 for the first time. I was like, "Oh, this is a cool freaking car! I want a car like this." To get and receive messages, like the sort of the lifestyle and the rich and famous kind of a car.
Yeah, because it was already playing off of like trading places and other stuff that had a Rolls Royce that rolled down the road. But no, I'm with you that, and especially since you were so young when you saw it, I thought it was brilliant when they did it, because I'm like, wow, that's a rich person that does not give two bits. They're littering, and it's all kinds of funny. It was great. I like the little, like the shuttle effect. They show you the outside where it shreds the
It shreds and yeah. I just thought it's sort of a detail of in a movie that you wouldn't expect it to be there, because it's just a throwaway thing, but they worked on that something that pulls them out for at least a few weeks to make it work and all that stuff. And that's one of the issues with this movie, is that they worked on certain things that A, didn't make it into the movie, or B, did make it into the movie, like the gold machine, but it cost so much money to build and ship the machine, just to build and make the machine work and do all that stuff in that set in Hungary, was $1 million out of that budget. It's a huge thing for something that, yes, it is central and key to the story, but the cost is too much. And then, of course, we get sort of the exposition dump. Why is Hudson Hawk doing this? Why are we stealing this sports? Why did we hire you to steal all these things? And that ties into sort of that first scene in the movie. Even though we do have the narrator, only here in this specific time do we get why Darwin and Minerva want those things. Why do they want that gold machine? Because money is only paper, but gold will always be gold. My favorite sentence for the entire movie.
Well, they're calling out fiat currency. I thought that was a little. I mean, even at that age, I mean, I was still pretty young, but even at that age, I was like, yeah, that's a good point. It's a fiat. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just as an aside too, Minerva is belting out the lines. I've got the power, right? The power. What's funny is that wasn't on the soundtrack.
Yeah, that's right. Because you can hear glimpses of the song. I Got the Power by, forgot the name. It's not CNC Fun Machine.
No, not CNC Music Factory. No, that's I can't remember who it was, but
a chat probably knows.
Yeah, but that wasn't on there. And,
Snap.
Snap. Yeah,
Snap.
What's also interesting too is how they set up the essential blackmail of setting up Hudson by saying, "Hey, we have the photos of you at the heists and everything," but also he wouldn't need it because again he wasn't wearing gloves. So there's also on top of that he'd be a wanted man anyway because his parole officer just got murdered and he was there, and the only other two people that can give him an alibi are the Mario brothers, and they're dead.
Yeah, and also the English butler, but nobody knows who he is because he's sort of a shadow.
But if you notice too, the butler was wearing gloves while at the murder scene.
Yeah, I know. To me, I also like the fact that how it actually happened, because if you have that folding knife, the way it opens, it should rip his jacket,
sleeves. Yeah,
but it doesn't. And to me, again, it's like the car. It's one of those gadgets in this movie that's like appears out of nowhere and it's magical and fantastical. It just does what it does. And you're not supposed to think about it too much. Yeah, when you're watching the film for the 20th time, that's exactly how is it coming out and not ripping his jacket? But when you're watching this for the very first time, or if you're just watching it and just turning your critical mind, you're just having a sort of a ride. And I think that's what Bruce Willis was aiming for. He was aiming for entertaining you and showing you his comedic side rather than just full-on action. Even though he does a lot of like jumping around, he jumps off buildings, he just like lands fantastically off that first heist. He's going to the Vatican, just going through one of the there's a moment after he steals the codex where he's using an antenna, a TV antenna to lower himself off, and it disturbs one of the cardinals there, and the cardinal is taking the staff and hitting the fucking TV. It's like,
and he's watching Mr. Ed. It's
Mr.
so
Ed.
fun. Oh, Wilbur.
But it kind of starts here where he meets Anna at the location of the codex.
Ooh.
And he uses...
That's what you think.
Exactly. Yeah. He uses Pookie, the kooky elephant.
Yes.
to find out how everything works.
Oh, also, one other thing that's really great about this too is when he escapes Ig and Ook and he's walking through the museum and his laundry list, because I know how much you love a setup and payoff, and I thought that was really great how he used those random items like olive oil, the stamps, and everything in order to perform the heist. And it seemed like these innocuous household items made this great cat burglar the best at his job.
Yeah, and to me, it's one of those things where if they had time to show us the last heist and not just use some sort of a plot hole, they use sort of a plot hole to skip over the Paris heist where they stole the helicopter, right? Or the helicopter model. And to me, that was like, wait, you could have done sort of the same thing that you did in the Vatican, but in the Louvre. Later on, when I found out how badly everything went, they didn't even plan on doing a shoot in Paris, or even a sort of a fake shoot in Paris.
Yeah.
They didn't even think about it, but they just used that as a sort of a tool. However, I wanted to see that heist, just like I saw the first heist with the Sporza, and then on with the Codex, I wanted to see that third heist. It would have been more interesting than a lot of the stuff that they did, sort of mishmash of stuff. But that's why this movie is technically bad, because the story is so jumbled up. But of course, Anna shows Hudson how to get in. And that's why when he meets the candy bars in that piazza, he asks for those stamps to get in. It's like when I first was there, when Butterfingers, I think, it's like, I got your stamps.
Yeah, he's in the postal uniform.
Yeah.
What's even funnier about that is the postal uniform he's wearing, I believe, is the U.S. Postal Service.
It is.
And he's in Italy.
He's in Italy. I'm like, he's a real dunce. It was so great. So.
Yeah.
What's great too is the fact that it emphasizes more when Kit Kat's behind him dressed as him. And he actually even gives him the card saying, "Beware the blue wire," solidifying that Kit Kat is the best out of the crew morally. Because even when he dies, he gives Anna the note, "I always liked you."
Yeah. I like it because he always sort of mimics the mimics even in attitudes, but he has the blood on the wrong side.
Yeah. Well, because that's what he's doing. He's actually, if you notice it in some of the other costumes, he's acting as a mirror where everything would be reversed. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. He's sort of if they were looking at each other, the blood would have been in the correct spot as if he would have looked at a mirror.
Yep.
So we'll skip over the heist, I guess. The fact that there's a whole sort of, you understand the whole contraption and why the olive oil, why the everything he asks, including the fishing rod, because it is on the list. The fishing rod is on the list, and suddenly you have this contraption, and this poor generale or whatever you want to call it is looking at this incomplete heist, and suddenly, whoops, gets yanked in.
Because funny too is that book would have just snapped right in half and fallen apart.
Yes, exactly. And again, sort of chase in the Vatican Square, which ends up because he set up a date with Anna while they were in the morning in the museum, and sort of like he gets in. And you can tell he's holding the feathers as it's like,
yeah.
Sort of like a cheap magician kind of style of moving, but it's so fucking funny. It just works in so many levels. And of course, he asks for spaghetti and ketchup.
No, he asked for Alfredo, then ketchup. That's even worse.
It's so great. And look, all of that was very fantastical, right? But the reaction of Anna, in this scene here, to the simple fact that
she was
what happened.
To be fair, that's a great smile.
Oh, look, I mean, as a young man at that age, if I were assembling a list of, ladies that I would, there you go.
To be absolutely fair, Isabella Rossellini would have been absolutely perfect in this role.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just me. I mean, there's another movie starring Bruce Willis that had Isabella Rossellini in it. It's I forgot the name. It's with Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep.
Death Becomes Her.
Death Becomes Her, where it's the only movie where Bruce Willis actually starts and finishes the same way, as a complete and utter simp. It's the only movie where he starts and finish at sort of a beta He doesn't
Well,
progress.
he does have a moment where he does have finally enough of both women.
Yes, but only in death.
Yes,
He kind of vanquishes them.
he's free. Yeah.
Yes. His death is his freedom. Otherwise, he's still, even when he was mad and he was telling them off, he was still at a sort of a backwards on the heels position. But yeah, Andie is a looker. Is a looker. And of course, you would expect things to progress because it seems like they both kind of hit it off with each other.
Oh,
And
can I just interject one point there?
go ahead.
Butterfinger's lines are probably some of the best for just a comic relief idiot.
Yes.
Because he keeps confusing the fact that they're in Rome with Paris time and time and time again.
It's not only that. First of all, they're sitting around in a car that is a Cinquecento, which is a Fiat 500. It is a very small car.
Yeah.
It's a convertible. Now he's reading Dr. Seuss, Green Eggs with Ham. Now, I talked about this last week with Horror Amarada, and I told you we're gonna do this movie, and she said, "Well, I love Hudson Hawk. It's like my kind of gal." And I told her, "Do you know that when they read the song, it's an actual book?" It's like, "Yeah, I know Green Eggs and Ham." It's like, "No, Not With a Goat is actually in Green Eggs and Ham." And you're like, "No." I went out and I checked. It's a really long poem. I, of course, downloaded the text, and of course, I left it at my rig at work instead of uploading it to the fucking cloud.
I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam. I am.
Sam, I am.
And wasn't
I
the
will not
writing
eat
bit
them
for
in a boat. I will not eat them with a
them
goat.
with a goat? Yeah,
That's right.
So, Not With a Goat is a paraphrase, but the lines are actually there. They're one of those lines they keep repeating is "not with a goat, not on a boat."
Well,
But-
they also have that line too. You know what he says before? He says, "Just read your book," right?
Yes.
Do you
Yeah.
want me to? Yes, YouTube. R-word them.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
They literally
Butterfingers, calm down.
Yeah, they treat him like one. They do treat him like one. So he's to me, Butterfingers is sort of like the stereotypical oaf. He's a dumb jock who's there only because of the muscle. And of course, his death is like it's so obvious that he's gonna die, it's unreal. And even when he dies, it's like, "Coach, I think we got betrayed." And he dies. So Anna gets really angry and really upset
Yeah.
that Hudson
Oh.
is like she gets that message from the Vatican.
Bruce's reaction is, "Wow, Catholic chicks are scary." With
Yeah.
the flashing crucifix, the little alcove as you go in her apartment, and it's like flashing, with an emergency message. I lost my mind because I thought just started laughing uncontrollably. Wow, Catholic girls are scary.
Yeah.
And she's flipping out. She's like, "You did it. You actually did it. You with less than a day of planning, you stole the codex." It was so funny.
Yeah, and the fact that right before sort of the alarm bells went off,
Yeah.
she was sort of rebuffing him, but he said, like, I would you like to play Nintendo with me? And it's like, that's so cute. I would say that's very cute. That's very innocent until the point where he was like, no, he doesn't want to play Nintendo. He wants to play Nintendo with her.
Wasn't
and of
that
course,
the final bit too that he had with her?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's the last time they kind of mentioned Nintendo, but it's sort of, like I said, it's sort of a running gag because the Mario Brothers are already dead. So there's no other reference, but he had to put that in there just to keep it going. Again,
Well, and also the reason why is because Nintendo wanted their product to be named in the film because they had the rights to make the game
well,
for Hudson Hawk. Yeah.
I think the game was put out by Sony Entertainment. That's what the wiki says.
But it was solely for Nintendo Entertainment
Really?
systems. It was never on the Mega Drive or the Genesis.
Well, the wiki says Amiga and Commodore 64, which is weird because at 1991, I don't think the Amiga or the Commodore 64 were around.
They weren't around anymore. The Commodore 64 definitely was not anymore, and the Amiga was the Intellivision, which was not a thing anymore.
Yeah, so the wiki is wrong.
That's weird.
Look, the screenshots I had were like yay big.
Okay.
This big. I mean, you can blow them up a little bit. It's basically a simple platformer, but the baddies in the platformer were like gargoyles and shit. So it's sort of
It looks like there was another game that was already made that they just kind of went, just slapped a name on it.
To be perfectly honest, a lot of games like in late 80s and early 90s that had movie tie-ins were basically the same game with a different skin. It was done by 5 people. A programmer and three graphical designers and a composer. That's it.
And mostly the reason why is because after the great collapse of the video game industry, brought to you by E.T. That's what really killed the Atari to begin with. But after that, everyone was very apprehensive about any kind of tie-ins. So, yeah.
Ooh, here we go. Let me see. Yeah, there it says. It says the U.S. Sony. And in Japan, it is Epic Sony Records. So there we go. Developer Ocean. Remember that? I remember Ocean.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, Culture.
Yeah.
Maybe it had it linked for the Commodore 64 because Ocean made so many Commodore 64 games.
And I think you can actually find this like to purchase like from collectors. I
think you might find it as a shareware or an abandonware as well because
it's definitely on emulators out there.
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, from the screenshots, it looks like one of those platformers. Like, do you remember the RoboCop platformer? Not the arcade game. The
arcade game was good.
Yes, I know. The arcade. I spent a whole bunch of money on the arcade game. Plus it was right next to the Golden Axe box the place where I used to play in. So there we go. But the PC version, because I had also PC version of it, was real bad. It didn't look like it was RoboCop. It was terrible. Anyway, Eddie still hasn't drank his coffee yet because he was drugged. Now, the drug that he was drinking was ethyl something. Yeah. It's not a drug that actually knocks you out. It's the one that they use for truth serum. Whatever. Who the hell checks those things out?
It was funny. Yeah, like I said, the scene that's a brilliant scene. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
Well, what's great too is they have then Kaplan and the candy bar crew come in, and Kit Kat is now dressed as Anna.
Yeah, because they come in, they pick her up, and we found out she's working with the candy bars, but we know the Mayflowers are working with the candy bars. She's like in sort of a limbo. And here you've got Kit Kat imitating Anna. I was like, why? It's just a funny, to me, it was just a funny moment where anywhere they can put anything that would make Bruce laugh, they did that shit. Right?
Oh,
It
yeah.
sort of, it sort of seems to me, it's sort of that same line of humor of Bruce Willis, of what he thinks it would
Yeah.
be funny.
Yeah.
That's what they did. And
Yeah.
that's what caused a lot of friction between him and the director, where the director was like, let's try and do something more interesting. And Bruce was like, you know, let's just put that in. And even Michael Lehmann said it in an interview far, far in the future. He said, the problem with a lot of the problems in Hudson Hawk is the fact that Joel Silver, who was like the big producer, who was the big money guy, his whole point of producing is a lot of hands off. And the problem is for Michael Lehmann, the director, was, well, Bruce was the actor, but he was also my boss because he was executive producer. Plus, he also was a script guy. So why am I here?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
to me, going into this movie, going to like research, it kind of reminded me of the stories that Kevin Smith told on Die Hard 4,
Oh,
where
yeah.
the director there was like stressed out of his mind. He didn't know what to do, always got like calls from the studio and then calls from Bruce. And then Bruce was there calling the studio. And he was literally losing years off his life because of Die Hard 4. And then, of course, Kevin Smith went to work with Bruce Willis, and we kind of heard the same stories, where Bruce wanted it to go one way, and the director wanted it to go another way, and it evidently went to clashes. All right, then. So,
Could you imagine working with Bruce?
Bruce today or Bruce in 1990?
No, well, not today. Oh, good Lord. I feel bad for him now, but
Yeah.
no, but I'm just saying, like, right after the Die Hard films, or actually probably leading up from the first Die Hard film through probably, gosh, what was his most recent ridiculousness? Well, wait, let's say Die Hard with a Vengeance, right? You working with him up to that point where he hadn't really experienced a lot of failure. I mean, it had to have been very difficult because this guy was such a star that it had to be intimidating if you were directing him, if you were writing for him, if anything, and as you pointed out, I mean, even some of the greatest producers, right? One of the greatest producers, finance guys, literally was
Silver.
intimidated by him. Yeah.
Well,
I
and
mean,
also to that point too, Culture, he had the credibility to back him up. Yeah, he did have a couple of bombs, including this film, but his misses were so few compared to the astronomical hits that he had in his career. So he had that power behind him. And even later on in his career, before he did retire, and again, feel terrible for the guy for what he's going through now with his health issues. But you saw the steady decline where he just started making just bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb, starting in about the mid 2000s until he finally did retire. And a lot of his films never made it. Again, he was doing direct to DVD stuff near the end of his career.
Well, exactly. I mean, and that's not even that far long ago. I mean, we saw like a string of terrible films in the last 5 years. I mean, up until a year ago when it started to leak out that he was in bad health, I mean, he was making garbage. Just
to
garbage.
me, the last really good, solid film that he did that I don't think he was in charge of the script for was Red. Not Red 2, Red.
Yeah.
Because they took this like
comic book.
It's not a comic book, so it's a
graphic novel.
Graphical novel. Yeah. So they took a graphical novel and they brought it to life, and they were pretty close to the original, if I'm not mistaken. Feelings?
Yeah, pretty close. Mm-hmm.
Pretty close. And it was very successful. And suddenly you're looking at a franchise. So they did another one, didn't do as well because the script was kind of weak to me. And from there on, what, Death Wish?
Oh yeah, he did do that remake.
Exactly.
Of
It's
Death Wish.
like
I forgot
you
about
took
that. Completely
Charles
forgot about
Bronson's
that.
Death Wish and you remade it. It's like it doesn't
Yeah.
fit.
It's incongruous indeed.
Yeah.
Then one of his last films was, I really hate to say this, but it's true. It was worse than Battlefield Earth. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's really.
Oh, wait a
bad.
minute. How can anything? I guess maybe.
There's
Yeah.
a couple things that are worse than Battlefield Earth or even Battlefield LA.
Yeah.
This
fact
is
that-
so great.
Fair.
Yeah,
This is
Anna's-
so good.
Anna's getting escorted by Kit Kat
This
and
is
she
so great.
sees Bunny Mayflower, and then it kind of clicks. It clicks that they're being super double crossed. So she goes to her priest, and then we found out that extra little bit because she has
She's
a
a nun.
confession.
Yeah.
She says, "Well, I kind of messed around with Hudson Hawk, where she really didn't. Right? They had a kiss, and she gave him a back massage, but it wasn't something too, you know."
His reaction, messed around.
Yeah, and to me,
Well,
that
and notice the fact too, as a priest, well, he's a cardinal, but he did not give her absolution. He gave
No,
her
he
penance.
he didn't. He didn't. And when he sends her off, she's like, "Do you have to be so
So
physical?"
flirty.
Yeah, so flirty. And again, when she leaves, it's so dramatic. It's like, "Oh, off I go into this mission." Turns on the Ray-Bans and
Tell
walks
me to go
away.
with God.
Yes. Tell me to go with God. Go with God, my child. And she leaves. I was like, what was that reaction? What was that interaction? How? Why is it there?
Was that Andie
Again.
MacDowell trying to get into just the cheesiness of the script at that point, trying to puff up Anna?
I guess. And of course, you see the death of Egan Ook.
Yeah.
Where they didn't, they didn't follow Hudson Hawk as they should have, so they had to go.
Yeah. What was the line that Minerva said? We don't want a miracle like teaching our nation's children how to read.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I've misplaced the scene.
Oh no.
Yes, the one where they tell Hudson Hawk about the gold is actually in this scene rather than
Yes.
this first scene.
Yeah.
But it's sort of the
It's fine.
same setting because they explained to him about the machines.
Yeah, because that's when they cut open the manuscript for the actual piece of
I've
the.
switched.
the
Yeah, I've
mach- yeah.
switched over.
Yeah, they cut open the
thing, and
codex.
they show him what's in the codex and what's in the helicopter, and he says the line about the fiat currency.
Yep.
And that sort of thing. And of course, once they leave the room, they introduce the last piece of what we didn't know is Tommy Five Tone was into this the whole time. But they do have that sort of argument, tussle. Tommy Five Tone gets shot, not really get shot, and we understand that it was all a ruse because he was in too deep with the Mayflowers, but him and Eddie go even further back. He sort of, there's so many double crosses, recrosses, intergirl crosses, all which around, and we're quite close to the end. We're at the half hour before the end of the movie, and now we know everybody's sort of real allegiances.
Yeah. I did love Hudson's reaction to looking over the ruins. What's all this? Why is everybody so interested in some rocks and shit?
Yeah. It's like,
What do they call this? Oh, the ruins.
the ruins. What do they call ruins? I don't know. Because it's there. Again,
Right. The delivery between the two of them is so great. I mean, it just shows their timing working together, and it would have been great if they'd have worked together more frequently. But yeah.
I mean, Danny Aiello was selected for the role. He was supposed to be Tommy Five Tone the whole time. It was a role that was for him,
Written for him. Yeah.
Yeah, it was written for him. They known each other for a while. I think 4 or 5 years back to this point, and Bruce really wanted to work with him. And it's something that is Bruce Willis's sort of staple throughout the years, where he finds people that are interesting and like enjoyable to work with. That's the people who he wants to do sort of the next project. I mentioned Kevin Smith. They met over Die Hard 4. Kevin Smith helped develop that whole warlock scene. He wrote it, and Bruce Willis later on was like, we need to do a movie together. I'm from Jersey. You're from Jersey. We need to do something. And when they did do it, it was the same Bruce all over again. All right, let's do a stop right here before we kind of end, because we've got sort of that last scene where Anna gets kidnapped and the whole gold rush thing, the gold machine. So we'll do our second game, second game of the podcast. It is called Screen Fighter.
Round 1, fight.
Screen Fighter, for the uninitiated, and as a reminder for culture, is where we take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both of them are good, both of them are bad, we fall into our criteria, which is Saturday evening, Friday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with their significant other. Two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? Today, we're going to start off with a frickin' doozy. Chat participation is most welcome. Give us your picks. This one is the first couple, Super Mario Brothers, because it's just so perfect, from 1993, or The Prince of Egypt.
Oof.
We'll start with our special guest, always. Please, which one will you watch?
Neither.
There's no choice.
Oh, okay. All right.
You have to pick, guys. You have to pick one. Just give us your.
Oh man, I will
least,
suffer.
I guess.
I tell you what, just because of the star power in Super Mario Brothers, I will watch that again if forced. If forced.
Okay.
No, honestly, I mean this is one because of Hop, because of Johnny Legs I could take or leave, but I mean Hopkins, I cannot say his name. Hoskins, there's the word.
Hoskins, Bob
yeah.
Hoskins.
Yeah, and of course, our favorite villain. And look, it's a terrible adaptation of a video game, but of these two, I think the most entertainment value is going to be in Super Mario Brothers. I don't know. That's my answer. Final answer.
Okay. Feelings?
I have to go with Super Mario Bros. Because I know so much about the backstory in that film and how everybody on that set suffered. They were in over 90-degree heat in basically a closed warehouse.
Yeah, it was bad.
And John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins were drunk pretty much the entire time.
Yeah.
And Anthony might have been as well, because he I don't know if he's on the wagon by then or not, but yeah.
You mean Bob
Dennis
Hoskins?
Hopper? Dennis Hopper is just Dennis Hopper. Yeah,
Dennis Hopper, yeah. Dennis Hopper is.
I don't think he's ever on anything. He's just Dennis Hopper.
I mean, it's not in the level of like Space Truckers Dennis Hopper, but it's really close.
No, or even Blue Velvet Dennis Hopper.
Oh,
but
no.
Oh no, Hopper and Velvet's fantastic. That film still is worth going back and watching again and again. I don't know why, but
stars
so
Isabella Rossellini.
It's one of David Lynch's best, and they tie into Isabella.
Correct. Even though I am Jewish and I'm supposed to like The Prince of Egypt, it is a terrible movie. It's a terrible adaptation of that story. It just is. So I'm gonna watch like for the cringe factor. The B movie or All Dogs Go to Heaven?
Wow, flick chart.
This is like, hey, how can we make culture suffer? All Dogs Go to Heaven is a better film than the B movie. So all day long, 1989's All Dogs Go to Heaven, much better choice.
Feelings?
I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment.
Nice. Let's switch it over. It's so easy for me. The Notebook or Next? Now, this is a choice between a very, very boring movie or a Nicolas Cage cringy movie. I think it went straight to DVD.
No, it didn't. It actually had
It
a small
didn't?
stint in the theater. Yeah.
Really? All right.
Why?
I don't know. Flick chart is a salty bitch when it comes to giving you.
You guys are making me suffer here. The Notebook. Good Lord, that's boring. That's a chick flick from the word go.
It's really boring. Feelings?
I would have to go with Next just because I'm a sucker for Nicolas Cage. I watch Nicolas Cage films to just watch Nicolas Cage, not the actual films themselves, not the character he's portraying. Just Nicolas Cage.
Let me ask you a serious question. Mm-hmm. Have you watched the movie Pig?
Yes, it's fantastic.
I think it's a really good movie. Yeah. It's sort of like, why? But then you get into the movie and you watch it. It's not like this weird blowout of a movie.
Well, it's not like everything he had been doing around that time too, like the color.
Anyway, Nicolas Cage is not Nicolas Cage in the movie. He's actually that specific character where he plays a chef. Blah blah blah. It's really good. I'm gonna go with Next because Cage. Right, here we go. Up or Stranger Than Paradise?
Here's the weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the animated again. Wow, you're just crushing me with animated films. But Up in 2009 is a much better, more in-depth story than I could possibly imagine.
So, feelings? It's a Jim Jarmusch movie.
I actually really like that one.
I know,
but
I knew you would. I know you so well.
But by the way, that's a fantastic Up poster.
Yes,
they pick out some. Flickchart has some great digging on their side when it comes to great movie posters. I would have to say I'm gonna have to go with Up, just because of what an unprecedented hit that movie was, and no one really got when you go into a Pixar film at that point in time, you had no idea a movie that was going to have that much of an emotional impact from the beginning.
Yeah, it hits you right at the beginning of the film.
Yeah. Up is my favorite Pixar movie of all time, and I'm not really a Pixar guy. It is, generally speaking, because of whatever I've got in real life, Up just hit me right where it needs to hit me. So I'll give it a go. Better Spider-Man or Blade Trinity, the birth of Ryan Reynolds?
No, Ryan Reynolds was in the films before.
I know.
A lot of films.
I know.
To be fair, the real birth of Ryan Reynolds was Van Wilder.
Yeah, Van Wilder was.
National Lampoon's Van Wilder. That was his first big hit. So.
Yeah, but this is the first movie where I saw him being Ryan Reynolds, being cast in a Ryan Reynolds
movie
role,
as Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
And only after that, I've seen Van Wilder. So Spider-Man, original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire or Blade Trinity?
I think it's pretty easy for me. It's going to be the original Spider-Man film.
All right. Feelings?
I love how cheesy Blade Trinity is. I'm gonna have to go with Blade Trinity. If it was Spider-Man 2, I would say I would go with Spider-Man 2. I think Spider-Man 2 is the best of the Raimi versions.
Blade Trinity was a shit show behind the scenes. It's a shit show on screen. just for the mere fact that
Wow.
Triple H is in this movie, it's going to be Blade Trinity.
Oh no.
I'm not a big Spider-Man fan. All right. Sweet Home Alabama or Thor: The Dark World.
God.
It's gonna be. It's gonna be the last couple, unless the next one is gonna be like amazing.
All right, I'm gonna say this. I'll never be able to watch Sweet Home Alabama ever again because it's just not for me. Thor: The Dark World was shit, but I'll still have to watch Thor: The Dark World again. So,
All right. Feelings?
I agree with culture. They really didn't do a good job of setting up the Dark Elves in any way, and they have such a huge impact actually in the comics. But I would still rather watch Thor: The Dark World. Though I really can't think of Reese Witherspoon without thinking of that stupid joke.
I had to block that movie from my my psyche. I watched it twice with Mrs. Meth, and twice I said, "Why are we watching this?" We're doing this.
That's a good.
We're doing this.
That's
I was just about to switch over. We're doing this. Ghostbusters 2 or the original Fly. Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis.
yeah, this is a tough one.
This is tough.
Man,
Because
the 80s were so good.
They're not sort of in the same category of movies. One is sort of horror thriller. Ghostbusters is comedy horror, not really horror. And it's the number 2. So it's Vigo the Carpathian.
I'm still gonna have.
I'll go first. Okay.
All right. Okay.
I'm actually going to go with Ghostbusters 2. I've said it on the show when we covered this. I think Ghostbusters 2 is not as bad as people remember it. I love The Fly. It is really, really good. I have plans for it for this year, for a project. I would go with Ghostbusters 2. Because Do, Ray, Egon.
Do, Re, Egon. Yeah. No, I'm a huge. Look, for me, it's also Ghostbusters 2. I liked it. I know there's a lot of problems with the film for people. I like the soundtrack. I think they invested a lot in making that fun as well.
Yeah. Bobby Brown is on that soundtrack.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Man, it's close because The Fly is such a good film, but it's Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
So.
I'm one of those. We talked about this during the podcast. I think Ghostbusters 2 has aged well. I think it's a lot better than I remember it being when we did the review. But I'm such a big fan of horror. I love The Fly, so I have to go with The Fly.
Oakley Vandal in the chat.
Yeah. I like this comment so much. I will highlight it for you. The Fly will get you laid. Ghostbusters 2 will not. Touche, sir. Touche.
True story. Well, and depending upon how in love with Hemsworth your lady is, Thor: The Dark World, even though it's a terrible film, might get that same result.
yeah, that's right. It's to be honestly, you know what film got me the most? No joke, is Legends of the Fall. Because Brad Pitt,
young Brad Pitt,
blonde hair.
Yeah.
I hated that movie so much.
The only thing I like about that movie is
the fact that you got laid afterward.
Yes. And when it comes to just the movie itself is when Anthony Hopkins is like close to being dead after like a stroke, and the government is trying to take some of their lands. Is him going like this, and it's like screw him.
Yeah.
That's my favorite bit in the entire movie. The rest of it, go to hell, burn. All right, cool. So, where were we? So, the Minervans We know all the plans. We know everything. Tommy Five Tones kind of looks like he was going to betray Hudson. Didn't betray Hudson. They watch the ruins, go back to Anna Baragli's apartment, and suddenly she gets abducted, and
Well, the candy bars are there.
the candy bars are there. And both
The bit of
Tommy and
physical
Eddie,
comedy that's done in this
yes,
bit. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
physical comedy of them being stuck with the Carrera poison or whatever it is, like this. Yes, it's just
Curari.
Sorry, it's just funny, and the fact that when they're kind of the poison, not the poison, but the paralysis side of it kind of gets away, and Tommy goes like, like this. It just adds to that physical comedy for that. And then they take over Almond Joy and Snickers.
Yeah.
And they,
what's funny is that with the blowback of the dart to Almond Joy, like, that's what I get for paralyzing a nun.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that line. I mean, that whole thing is fantastic, and they're just like collapsed. She's all got her neck kinked and stuff. Her thing's great. There's a lot of great physical bits in this. It was fun.
And we get the bit that culture you mentioned before. Anna Baraglia came to play.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt me. You're not going to hurt little old anybody.
Exactly. And when
Sorry, guys.
when they're paralyzed, they kind of inform him. It's like, Hudson is in love with a nun, and Butterfingers takes out her her garb, and I was like, oh, poor Eddie, poor Hudson Hawk.
Of course you love me. It's your job.
Yes,
It's just like,
you love everybody.
well, I guess I do in my own Catholic way.
And of course, her effects from the poison are a little bit more weird because you gotta put something weird in this movie that is already has a bunch of stuff that is weird. So she speaks to the dolphins now, and to be perfectly honest, after all these years, kudos to Andie MacDowell that nails crazy without a doubt. Speaking to the dolphins now. I don't know how she came up with it, or
so
was
good.
it directed from Bruce Willis, or whatever it is. It is, it's
man,
a great moment because it's so off, and it makes Minerva and Darwin go crazy even more than they already were because they can't get the information they need off of her.
Anna's expertise allows her to move on to the next part of it. It's so funny. I was like, oh man, this is brilliant though.
Yeah, it is, because there's in such a remote castle, and it's supposed to be Da Vinci's castle, and they're like, Minerva is like, the dolphin is dead. The dolphin is dead. It's like, come on, you bitch.
That's right.
She's frustrating them so much, and Sandra Bernhard and Richard E. Grant just nail those roles of being crazy billionaires. And
Richard E. Grant,
they're so good. They're just so good. And I saw in the chat earlier, one of the people in the chat said, this was my first introduction to Richard E. Grant and Sandra Bernhard, and looking at their careers now, Sandra Bernhard didn't do a lot of stuff, but in most of the things she did, she was basically Minerva Mayflower. Basically, maybe it toned down a little bit. It's not turned up to like 12. It's turned up to like 7, but it still is that kind of a character every single time, which leads me to believe that Sandra Bernhard is playing Sandra Bernhard in a movie with Sandra Bernhard in it.
Yeah.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, sir.
Yeah. Right. So once our two guys, Eddie and Tommy, they take a ride with a Fiat, another kind of Fiat. I think it was Fiat Panda or something rather, or Fiat Uno, one of those mass-produced Fiats. I think one of them was my wife's car at the time. Not
Oh, wow.
1991, but that car from 1991 was hers in 2003 or something.
Nice.
Yeah. And hey, Penny, seen you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Penny.
I love it. This thing here where they kind of storm the castle and then
I love it. What are you doing with the golf bag? Are you Bob Hope for Texaco?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's another Bob Hope reference in this movie.
They recorded that line twice for different markets, for different oil companies. So
really?
Yeah, that's one of the things I know about this film. So it was, I can't remember who the other one was, but it was recorded twice for different versions of the film. So I think the Texaco one was the one that won out because it was the biggest oil company at the time when they went to DVD, and then obviously from there. But but no, there was two different, from what I recall, two different prints of the film with two different oil companies.
Sort of the same way Demolition Man was in some markets, it was Pizza Hut, and in some other markets, it was Taco Bell. Because Pizza Hut was for the European audience because they didn't really have Taco Bell in Europe at the time. But one of my favorite lines is for this. So they storm the castle, they start shooting everything there. The Mayflowers go haywire. They send out the candy bars. They kill Kit Kat. And at some point, Eddie and Tommy kind of stop. It's like, okay, we've got 2.5 minutes to save Anna, 3.5 minutes to save the world, 600 side by side. Mm-hmm. And my favorite song of the entire movie. And it just goes off in this whole like big band style of a scene where it doesn't go for the full 6 minutes.
Oh, we ain't got a barrel of money. We may be ragged and funny, but we're sliding along, strolling along, singing a song side by side. Yeah, it's so great, man.
It's such a fun little bit, and it kind of ends with the whole turn of events is that Tommy gets to the car with Darwin, who escapes because Anna kind of took over Minerva. Minerva we don't know how she escaped. She kind of escapes. And we get two set pieces. One is Tommy in the car with Darwin, and the other one is George Kaplan with Hudson Hawk, where at a certain point he kind of kicks him, and then Eddie's like stuck in going up and down and up and down, and then it's such a slapstick moment where kind of Kaplan kind of goes by and wants to give him the whole high kick, and my hat goes down, and Kaplan just flies off into the sunset.
And he does a Street Fighter kick, a
Street Fighter kick. That's it. He does a Street Fighter kick. Now, originally, in the original scripts, up until a certain point, Tommy Five-Tone actually dies in the car explosion, where the car kind of explodes. Darwin goes one way, the butler goes the other way, and the car kind of rushes in and explodes. It was supposed to be Tommy's end. But of course, Bruce Willis didn't want to end on a sour note of, oh, my friend dies. So they concocted that whole scene at the end where Tommy comes back. Oh, you can't fucking believe it. Sprinkler system at the back. You can't believe this shit. It's like, the only reason it was half believable was the fact that we already saw Darwin having the fax machine and the shredding machine at the very, very start.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
it's not really a setup and a payoff, but it sort of makes that car, let's say, believable that it can do that. It's still not a good, let's say, not a good way to bring a dead character from the grave. I didn't think it was believable even back then. It was cute, and it's sort of transparent that you want to end on a really high note without any sour notes in the middle, just to end your movie. I don't know. It's the only thing that kind of bothers me throughout the years, or bothered me throughout the years. So of course, Darwin and Minerva still live because they're alive. They captured Anna. They recaptured Anna. Recaptured Hudson, and they're making Hudson Hawk assemble that crystal. Now, I wouldn't.
Yeah, why would you trust him?
Why would you trust Hudson Hawk to now do whatever you want?
Just as an aside, real quick, Meth. Before, this is also the second mention of a gastronomical atrocity. Where if Leonardo da Vinci was with us today, he'd be with us eating microwave sushi. No. It's like ketchup on Alfredo. What is wrong with this script?
It had 120 different versions.
Yes.
And again, it was finalized 3 weeks before the ending of the shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, 106 days, 3 weeks till the end. That's bad. I mean,
it was I'm going through that line and I'm thinking, yeah, that definitely was an add-in. Somebody added that in. But no, yes. So 3 weeks until the end of the film, they were still working on the script. That sounds like something Disney does.
Yes, today's Disney for sure.
Yes.
At the very end, there's a few sort of set pieces. Minerva and Darwin kind of get killed by the machine.
That was so great.
And then, okay, we finished off 2 bosses, but there's still 2 bosses left for us to kill or for us to take care of. One is the least dangerous, which is the butler, and 2, the most dangerous, is Bunny. And the thing is, it's like Hudson kind of, took care of Darwin and Minerva. We were facing with Bunny. It's like, oh, now you take care of this, Anna. It's like, why me? It's like, hello.
In the interim, Anna almost shoots Hudson in the waist, and then she wings him in the arm.
Yes. When he faces off the butler, it's like, we finished with the butler. It's like, okay, I'm done. I've got like this. You shot me in the arm. You shot me in the belt.
That was so great.
You take care of the dog, and she can't really take care of the dog. So he brings out this tennis cannon.
Funny, ball. Dude, I still love that. Dude, the one-liners in this are so great because when Bruce Willis finishes off the butler, he's like, I guess you won't be attending that hat convention next year.
Yeah.
And of course, the biggest setup and payoff is the fact that at the start of the movie, we see the flying machine, and it's the flying machine that helps Anna and Eddie kind of run away, even though there's a moment. I like the moment there where they kind of set off and it seems like it's going well, but then it kind of dips in, and Anna holds Eddie here, and then Eddie takes her arm and covers his own eyes so he won't be afraid. It's such a childish moment, a childish thing to do, but of course they make it through. They get into this coffee place. They meet with Tommy that tells them about, like, oh, you can't believe the sprinkler system at the back. You can't believe this all. And they sit around, and finally, Eddie had his coffee. Yeah, I know, Oakley, it's a cappuccino, but it's coffee.
Yeah.
Well, to be
And,
fair, even the narrator says it. And
Yeah.
Eddie
No, the
finally-
narrator actually says it. Finally, Eddie had his coffee. They even
and there he goes. He throws the cup.
throws the cup and it ends the movie. I want to get to that.
So great.
Give me there. Because throughout the entire movie, you get this book a la sort of Monty Python. I thought of it when it was kind of reminded me of Monty Python.
The setup there
It started with this and it ended with this.
What it
and
also
it's-
really reminded me of too is someone mentioned it in chat is that another film that kind of got the disservice by Hollywood in all the promotional material was The Princess Bride.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't really discuss the promotion for Princess
Not
Bride,
really.
but it really was sort of mismarketed in terms of like how they wanted to market it, and it really didn't turn out well. And both Princess Bride and this movie and a few others, but these are like so acute. It made so much money in VHS sales. This had a full-on laser disc. The cover is amazing, by the way. It's just the well-known Bruce Willis face. The cover of the laser disc is on the thumbnail I used for this show.
Gotcha.
Wow.
It's so good. It's sort of it's a picture, but they sort of tweaked it as if it was a painting, but not all the way. It's really good. So like I said, VHS is the laser disc, and of course, once DVDs were a thing, I think you can get it in Blu-ray, but not 4K. I think the cover, the stuff I have is an upgraded to Blu-ray, so it's not the best quality, and it doesn't look like a Blu-ray quality, but it's 1080, and it's not that bad. Let's sum up because both of you have got to hard out of here in about a couple of minutes. Feelings. Give us your sort of a short summary of rewatch of this time rewatching it.
Overall, I have to say I didn't detest it as much as I thought I would. I had been kind of shuffling my feet, regretting and hoping I wouldn't have to ever come to this day, because we've talked about this movie how many times, and how many times have you wanted to get it on the list?
Yes. Yes.
But hey, we made it, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It's like going to the dentist. Once it's over, it's okay.
Wow. Tell me how you really think.
No,
right,
I
Coach?
really think it wasn't bad. Overall, still not a movie for me, but for those who enjoy it, like you two, you seem to genuinely enjoy it. So more power to you.
Culture.
Yeah, look, this is one of those films that I can put in and watch like 7 times in a row.
Yeah.
You know, it literally could run in the background in the house on any of the TVs throughout the entire day, and it wouldn't even bother me that, I just heard that dialogue for the 20th time. It's just, it's fun. It's just a fun movie.
And to me, you mentioned the fact that, this movie's got so many one-liners. The people who are into this movie, who really like this movie, remember those one-liners. It's the dolphin now. It's the coffee. It's the Nintendo bits. It's the menthol cigarette thing. It's all these little things, including the freaking Dr. Seuss song with "Not with a Goat." It was like, oh, whoa! It all these things put together, just makes this crazy, wacky, disastrous production to be either you really like it or you really hate it. And I wouldn't even put it on the list with movies like The Room, where it's like it's a really bad movie, but you're willing to watch it just to laugh at these people. It's not, I don't think it's in that category. It's sort of a special category of sort of VHS or straight to home video kind of cult classic, I would say. So you either really love it or really hate it.
I believe you'll find more fans of this film that have seen it than people who are their detractors. Because again, I mean, I have people in my family that have seen this movie probably because of me that are on board with this movie. I think just didn't get enough people to see it initially. So I would love to say it's a cult classic, but I think that would be a lie because I still feel like there's a lot of people who haven't seen the movie.
It's been in theaters for just 3 weeks, and then it was pulled down. And it went, it's like unusually fast to the video stores because they had to recoup. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have to hard out of here. So we'll say goodnight to all the lovely people that have joined us today. Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Oakley. Thank you, Netters Network. To Becky. To Last Call with Troy Pacelli. And all the other people who have missed. Probably Tom was in the chat lurking and didn't want to say anything because he didn't want to disturb culture.
We had Brahma. We had Just Another Red Shirt.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Next week, we are covering Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. Ooh. Fantastic movie.
I love that movie.
Go and watch it. If you haven't watched it, it is your treat. You will find things that you know from today, especially in the streaming era. Trust me, it's really, really good. And our special guest is going to be Stone Loki, first on the show. So it's going to be good because he loves that movie. And I always love a different perspective from people who are really into that movie. So from me, from Culture, description down below, sub to this guy. We're going to get into the next 10K. From All My Feelings who are disemboweled.
I'm here.
Disinvoiced and all that good stuff. And we will see you next week because remember, guys, hope is a good thing. Maybe even the best of things. And no good thing ever dies. Good night. You're still here? It's over.